welcome to my studio. My name is Melissa and today we are going to make a griddle brimmed beanie. So what that means is we're going to be using the griddle stitch as the brim of the beanie and Now, if you haven't already checked my YouTube channel, I have many different beanies, so please check them out as well as following along on this one. What I will be using is my hand spun yarn. Now you can use any yarn you want for this beanie. It doesn't matter what yarn because the techniques that we're going to use to make this beanie can be used for any yarn. But if you are using a hand spun yarn or you have bought a hand spun yarn from me, then what you will need, look for a yarn. If you're following along with me for this particular yarn, look for a yarn that requires a 5mm hook. Now for my yarn, I spin to a 5mm hook, but if your tension is a bit tight, you might want to drop down to a 4. So just do a test square to see what you will need. So for me, I know it is a 5mm hook. This is my furls hook. You will also need a yarn needle, a stitch marker. This is our logo, Lucky Platypus, and we do make these stitch markers. So if you are interested, drop me a line and a pair of scissors. Okay, so let's get this balled up and get this project started. Now that we have our yarn all balled up, we need to find the end. But before I go any further, I did omit to tell you how much you will need. So to make your life a lot easier, find a yarn that is for a 5mm hook, and therefore you will be able to follow along with me a lot easier. However, as I said before, you can use any yarn you like. But for a 5mm hook yarn, this is pure wool yarn that I am using here, and I do only single ply when I spin my yarn, and so I know that this is a 5mm hook that I require. I need a 100-gram ball of yarn, which makes 200 meters. Okay, so now I've found my end. Let's get started. What we need to do is do a slip knot. So what I do is I wrap it around my finger, I twist, get the other end, put it over, and then get the other end there and slip it over the top. So let me run that through again. There's your end. Wrap around your finger and twist, get the other end, put it over your finger, get the original loop and pull it over. Now there's 101 different ways you can do a slip knot. That's just the way I do it. Get your hook, put it on the slip knot, and now what you're doing is chaining as many stitches as are required to get this chain to go around your head or the head of the person you are making it for. Now, generally, for me, for this yarn, it's about 60. But what I'm going to do is chain and tell you when I finish my chain how many stitches this will be. So for your chain, you just yarn over and slip straight through that loop on your hook. Yarn over, straight through that loop. Yarn over, straight through the loop. And keep doing that until you have a chain long enough to go around your head. Okay, so we have our chain, and for me with this yarn, it was 67 stitches that I needed. Now, every single yarn that I use, and whenever I'm doing a beanie, I always will measure around my head. I don't assume that that is going to be the same for every single time I do this, because yarn changes. So always measure around your head. Now you don't want it too tight when you put it around your head, and you definitely don't want it too loose. So do like an in-between. It does generally get a little bit looser as you go around. Okay, so now that you've got your chain, do an extra stitch, so another one, and then you need to work all your stitches for this next row into the back of this chain. So the front of the chain, focus, is that V at the front there. The back of the chain is this little loop that you see here. And we're going to work all the stitches in that little loop. So not that V at the front, you're doing the loop at the back. And the reason why we do this is because it makes it a really nice, neat edge. And that's, of course, what you want on your beanie. So we're going to miss that first stitch that we created just then, and we're going to the next one there. So what we're going to do is do half double crochets in this row. So yarn over, go into that loop at the back, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through, then grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. So yarn over, go into that next stitch there, put your hook through that loop there, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Yarn over into the next stitch, so back of the stitch in that loop, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Now do this into every single stitch until you get to the end of the row. Now I'm at the last stitch at the end of this row, so yarn over straight into that last stitch as normal, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through the 3 loops on the hook. Now you need to make sure that your stitches are the same count that you had before and that it is odd number of stitches. And now what we're going to do is join this together. So turn it over so your hook is at this end and there is the other end, and making sure that it is flat all the way along. And once you're happy with that, then bring the 2 ends together and slip your hook through the first stitch, like so. Then get the end of your yarn, put it over your hook, and bring that yarn straight through all the loops on your hook. Then you'll be chaining 1. Now you need to turn your work. At this point, you need to just check that you don't have any twists or turns and line up your chain so that it is all even. And when you are happy with that, so you need to make sure that your tail is down and line up, and it will be twisting. And this is probably the trickiest part of the whole project, is just making sure your chain is all even and not twisted. Now once you are happy with that, we are now going to start the griddle stitch. So the griddle stitch is going to and fro from your single crochet to your double crochet. So your first stitch and your last stitch of every row for the next, well, it depends what you want to do, whether you want to do a short band or a really large band. Now I'm going to do an 8-row band. I like that bigger style band, but if you want to do a short band, I recommend 5 rows. So for now, if you're following along with me, do 8 rows, but you can change as many rows in your band as you like. So the first stitch and the last stitch of your band should always be a single crochet, and that is why we need an odd number of stitches in your chain. So what we do is that first stitch there, so that one right there is where the first stitch is going to go. So we're going to put the hook straight into that stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Then the next stitch, that's a single crochet, the next stitch is going to be a double. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab a yarn and pull it through. Now grab your yarn and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, and then grab your yarn and pull through the next 2 loops on the hook. That's your double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a single, so straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. The next stitch is going to be your double. So yarn over, straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, grab your yarn and pull through the next 2 loops on the hook. Next stitch, single crochet. Next stitch, double. Next stitch, single. Next stitch, double. So as you can see, the pattern is first stitch, single, next stitch, double, single, double, single, double. And make your way all the way around your band doing exactly that, your single and your double. And I'm going to meet you right at the back at the beginning when you have finished that. And you hopefully will have finished on a single crochet, but I will meet you there just to run you through that when you get there. Okay, so I'm on to the last stitch, which is my single crochet. Now, as you've been doing that, this might have all twisted around and everything. So once again, make sure that how you've got it is all straight. So just twist around and play with it until we're straight. Now don't worry about the tail and the gap that you will find that will happen there. There we go. It's all straight now. We are going to sew that up at the end and sew it together, and you won't even notice that gap. So now we are back at the beginning of this row. Now this is where I suggest that you use your stitch marker. But first of all, I just wanted to give you a couple of tips. Now sometimes you can get yourself lost between your single and your double. So what I do when I'm doing it is I go single, double, single, double. And I'm saying that in my head so that I know what's happening. The other thing you can do is go 1, 2, 1, 2. So single crochet is single 1, double crochet is double 2. So I always go 1 for single and 2 for double. It's just a tip. It helps not get lost, because if I don't do that, you might have a phone call or something and you put it down and you're like, oh no, where am I at? So that's what I do. Okay, so now I'm back at the beginning. I'm just going to put my stitch marker into that first stitch of the row, and it should be right there. Now you can do this at the beginning of the row or at the end, wherever makes it easier. And this is just to tell me where I'm at. So I know that this was row number 1 of the griddle stitch. So now we are going to join that row together. And now I know where my first stitch is. I'm going to put my hook straight into that stitch. And we're just doing a slip stitch, yarn over, pull your yarn through, and then pull your yarn through the loop on your hook, tighten up, chain 1, turn your work. Okay, so for the start of every row on a griddle stitch, you will be doing a single crochet. Always starting and ending with a single crochet. Now, a single crochet is going to go into the previous single crochet stitch. And then the double crochet is going to go into the previous double crochet stitch. Now, a single crochet stitch is really easy to see because it looks like you just got a big hole there. Whereas your double tends to have a lot underneath it and it's got a little cap. So your single looks like a big hole and a V. Your double has the little cap and it's got a lot more there. There's your single with your big V, your double with the cap and a lot underneath, single, double, so on and so forth. Okay, so we always start our single in the single. So straight into that single stitch there, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the loops on the hook. You double, yarn over, straight into the top of the double, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, grab your yarn and pull through the second 2 loops on the hook. There's my double, my single, and there's my double. Now, feel free to pull your work apart to find it. So I can see there's my single. And I can see with all the loops and everything here, there's my double. And then my single, my double, my single. But do what I said before and go double, single, or 1, 2, 1, 2, whatever works for you. And you shouldn't get lost. So there's my single and my double. Now, the reason why I point out what stitches look like, because once again, if you put it down, you might just go, oh goodness, where am I up to? Because you might not remember. Okay, so continue doing this row of your griddle stitch, your singles and your doubles on top of the previous singles and doubles. So there we go, there's my single. And there's my double. And I will meet you back at the end of this row to show you what to do next. We are up to our last stitch. It's just there, single crochet. And now what we need to do is join the stitch together. So you can see, it's a little bit difficult to see, but hopefully you can see there is the stitch there. Straight in, grab a yarn, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook and tighten up. Chain 1, turn your work. And you continue repeating this until you have the required amount of stitches that you would, a required amount of rows that you would like to make your rim. You can start also to see the bumpy effect and the pattern of the stitch, the griddle stitch. And I am going to do, I'm looking at it like I'm going to do 8 rows. But do as many rows as you feel that is the right amount for your rim. If you're using a thicker yarn, you're going to have less rows that you require for your rim. And if you're doing a thinner yarn, you're going to need more rows for your rim. But judge what suits you and the beanie that you're making for the person that you would like to make it for. And so remembering that every single row that you do for your rim is going to start in that stitch that's above the previous single crochet. So there's my single, there's my double, single, double. So I'm just always looking for that single and then putting my stitch straight into that single and creating my single crochet. And the next one is my double, then my single, double, and so on and so forth. Remembering when you get to the end of the row that you are finishing with a single, join your row together with a slip stitch, and then chain one, turn your work, and continue until you have got the amount of rows that you need for your beanie rim. When you have done that, come back and then I'll show you what we do for the body of the beanie. Okay, so I have finished the rim and I did 8 rows, and now we have finished with the griddle stitch, and we are going to move on to the body of the headband. So you should have finished your last row with your single crochet. Now join the row together as you have been with the slip stitch, chain one, turn your work, and now in every single stitch we are going to be doing a half double crochet. So into your first stitch will be that single crochet stitch there. You're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So keep doing your half double crochets all the way around. Now what I would suggest now is to move your stitch marker from here and move it up to that first stitch of this row. Okay, now continue going all the way around for this first row of your half double crochet, and I will meet you back at the end of the row. We are at the end of that first row of half double crochet, and we are not going to slip stitch it together, chain one, turn. Instead, we're just going to keep going around and around and around and continue each row in the round, which simply means that the next stitch is going to go straight into that first stitch there. So let's just move that stitch marker out of the way and go straight into that first stitch there, and then just keep going. And you just keep going around and around and around and around. And the only time you need to stop, and when I'll meet you back here, is when you've got to a certain point. Now, I'm going to use my lovely model here. And here's her eyes. There's her head. And you are going to keep doing the beanie until it's about there on your head. Now, I hope that makes sense to you. So that's the tippy top of your head. You're going to keep trying on your beanie until it is around about there on your head. When you have got it there, stop and come back to the video and I will show you what to do next. Just a tip before you continue on, these stitches, by the way, are going straight into that hole there. You are not trying to get it into here, into that part there. You are going straight into the body of the stitch. Okay, so keep going around and make sure you go straight into the body of the stitch, not go into there. The difference will look, that's going straight into the body of the stitch, and this would be, if you miss that, you'll get a little line there. Okay, so that's into the body of the stitch, that's into the line. Now you can do it like that if you want to. I actually don't like the look. I prefer the neater look like this. It will depend. If you choose, whatever way you choose, you need to make sure you keep doing that all the way around. Otherwise it will look very untidy. But I am not going to go into there. I'm going to go into there and keep working all the way around until you've got to that point on your head, and I will come back and show you what we do next. I have finished that section now, which is 18 rows I did from the griddle stitch panel up to this point, 18 rows. Okay, so now what we're going to do is bring the top in for the beanie, so it fits nicely over the top of the head. And what we now need to do is bring our stitch marker up. So just undo it here, but before you attach it, what we're now going to do is some decrease rounds. So what you need to do is yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Go into the following stitch and then grab a yarn and pull it through. Now grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook, and that is your decrease stitch. Get your stitch marker and put that into that decrease stitch. So that is now the beginning of your next round, which is a round of decrease. For the next 3 stitches, we are going to be doing half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. The next stitch is a decrease. So yarn over, into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then into the following stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, then grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Next 3 stitches are half double crochet. 1, 2, 3. Next stitch is a decrease stitch. Yarn over, into the next stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through. Go into the next stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Next 3 stitches are half double crochet. 3. So as you can see, there's the pattern. You're doing a decrease followed by 3 half double crochets, and keep doing this until you get back to the beginning of this round. Okay, so I am very close to my stitch marker. Now I can do a decrease here, which will bring me very close to the decrease here, or I can just do 3, continue with my half double crochets till I get back to the decrease here. It is up to you how you would like to do that. It just depends on the amount of stitches you have, how it works out. For me, I think I'm going to do a decrease. Okay, so I'm near the stitch on either side of that decrease there. So now what I'm going to do is continue with my half double crochets for the next round. So I'm just going to half double crochet all the way around until I get back to the stitch marker. I am now back at the stitch marker. So there's that decrease round we did. So there's that round of decrease. We've just done 1 round of half double crochet with no decrease. So now I need to do a decrease round again. This time it's slightly different. So into the next stitch, I'm going to do my decrease stitch, followed this time by 2 half double crochets. 1, 2. So now I'm doing a decrease and then 1, 2. 2 half double crochets, decrease, 1, 2 half double crochets. So continue doing that all the way around, but before you go on, just move your stitch marker up so that it is now on that first decrease of this round. So there, you'll see the decrease round there. So moving the stitch marker to there. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's continue doing our decrease followed by our 2 half double crochets until you come back to the stitch marker. So I'm back at the stitch marker. I've done my 2 half double crochets. I'm supposed to do a decrease, but I'm so close to that previous decrease, I'm just going to keep going with my half double crochets and do a row all the way around of half double crochet. So just keep going for this next round. Just 1 row of half double crochet, and I will meet you back when you get back to the stitch marker. We are now back at the stitch marker, and I just need to do 1 more stitch, and now what we're going to do is another round of half decrease. So yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Remember to move your stitch marker up to that decrease stitch. And this time we are only going to be doing 1 half double crochet between the decreases. So there's my half double crochet, and now a decrease, 1 half double crochet, decrease, 1 half double crochet, decrease, and continue doing, well, let's do that one again, decrease, and continue doing that 1 half double crochet and 1 decrease until you get back to the stitch marker. Okay, back at the stitch marker, same thing. I have half double crochets very close to the decrease, so I'm just going to keep with the half double crochets and keep going around, and this row is your half double crochet row all the way around until you come back to the stitch marker. I am back at the stitch marker, and that is our decrease section finished. Now, saying that, throughout this whole decrease section, I would recommend that you periodically try it on your head or the head of the person that you're making it for, so that you know it actually fits. Sometimes you can do this and it might not be enough rows, so therefore when you get to this last half double crochet row, you might need to do 1 or 2 more just half double crochets. You also might find that you might have judged this area down here where you just did plain half double crochet, no decrease, that you didn't do it short enough, and therefore you don't need as many decrease rows here in the decrease section. So stop. Stop as soon as you find that when you put it on your head or the person's head you're making it for, that it fits comfortably and the top sits nice together over the top of the head. As soon as you've got that, you know you're done. Now, when you are finished, what you now need to do is just get a bit of yarn that is long enough to go around the top of your beanie. When you find that length, just grab your scissors, snip the end off, and that is your yarn finished. You don't need that anymore. And just do a slip stitch at the top. So go into the next stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, and pull through that loop on the hook. Pull it through. Pull tight. And now get your yarn needle, put this on to the end of the yarn on the yarn needle. You can now take out your stitch marker and put this in the center of your beanie and turn your beanie inside out. And now what we're going to do is weave the top of your beanie, that yarn needle, through the top stitches of your beanie. And just weave it in and out all the way along. And when you get back to the beginning, pull, but don't pull so tight that you break the yarn. Alright, now when you've got the hole closed, now weave the top so it stays closed. Now once again, don't pull so tight that you break your yarn. Now when you feel you have gone through that middle a lot of times, or enough to keep it secure, just tie your yarn off several times. You don't want it coming undone. And snip off the excess yarn. That's the top done, and now all we need to do is close that little bottom bit together with the tail, and go into that first stitch and pull together. Go back into that last stitch of that round, pull together, and when that looks nice, neat and tidy, then sew the end in, making sure that you've sewn it in onto the inside of the beanie, which should be the side you're working on now. And then snip the excess off, turn back the right way, and there is your finished beanie. And there we go, there is your finished beanie with your griddle stitch rim and your half double crochet top. Come in with your decrease stitch at the top so it forms a really lovely looking beanie. I hope you have enjoyed making this beanie. If you are interested in any of my other beanie tutorials, I've got oodles of them on my YouTube channel, so go check them out, and everything else that I've got on there. I've got oodles of stuff, so have fun. I hope you've enjoyed making this one. If you have, like, subscribe and all that good stuff, and hopefully I get to see you here again at the studio sometime very soon. Thanks everyone. Bye.